Good morning, everyone. I'm going to start this talk off with a question. And you might think it's a little easy, it's a little boring, maybe even a little overused in talks like this. But I want you to think about your first guttural reaction. And then I want you to analyze how you answered that question a little deeper. Who are you? Now, the first thing you might thought of is your name, your age, your parents, where you're from, what you do, maybe some personality traits. Now I'm going to ask you another question. Who were you yesterday? What about 5 years ago? Did you answer the question in the same way, the same types of things? Did you have the same answer? I, for one, know that if you met me 5 years ago, you wouldn't say that I was the same person. But I had the same name, I was born in the same place, had the same parents, most of the same personality traits, I looked the same. So what exactly changed in that time? You might think of the common phrase right now that says your actions define you, not your personality, not your traits or your characteristics of your life. But when you're talking about action, how much of that do we really control? As we know, genetics predispose us to so many different things these days, and how we're raised controls our outlook on life, our habits, how we act, how we react, our beliefs, who we are. Who we are, that question again. But how do we really answer it if we don't have the criteria? When you're thinking of the question, who are you, you are trying to define yourself, your consciousness, everything, your entire life. Really an inexplicable idea with words. And I believe that one problem that we have with this, why we always ask ourselves this question and why we struggle with it, is because of technology, and something I like to call a technologically fixed identity. And you might say, did she make that up? Yes, I made that up. However, it's because of how I've seen myself in my life, how I've changed, and how I've observed others. It's time for an anecdote. Back in middle school, I struggled with my identity, and this was because I was moderately successful at pretty much everything. Now hold your applause. I wasn't that good at anything. I was in a bunch of different groups, a lot of activities, with people who dedicated their lives to sports or music or academics, and I was just pretty good at all of them. They put it in their Instagram bios, they put all their time into it, and I simply didn't know where I fit in. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I'm the only person who struggled with identity. Anyone who's evolved, who's changed, who's grown up, has moved out of these communities and these groups, and it's been hard for everyone. But why do we struggle so much with this? The pivotal moment for me when I realized that we were trying to put ourselves into a position that we couldn't really fix ourselves into was in a class in biology in middle school when we were learning about cellular respiration and division. And that kid, shouted out to the teacher, "Oh, did you guys know that every cell in your body completely regenerates every 7 years?" And that might not be exactly true, but it was, as I dwelled on it over the next few days, it made me realize that I was on this journey for trying to define myself when people are undefinable beings. And so it brought me back to the question that plagued me, who am I? And I realized that maybe there's no answer. Maybe we are a changing being. Maybe we can't define ourselves by our characteristics. Maybe it's our current actions, but those can't even define you, your past, your future. I'm not who I was 5 years ago. Maybe identity is an illusion. And this is maybe what has brought us so much issues with our generation, with depression and anxiety, because with social media, we are trying to create a fixed persona when that's something that people aren't. We aren't fixed. So how can you apply this in your life? What does this mean? The idea of holism is the concept that you look at yourself as a whole, as a fluid being, as something that changes, that reacts and acts, that changes the world around it and is changed by the world around it. It believes that it's okay to change your mind every day, all the time, based on new information. Now, you might not want to adopt this philosophy into your everyday life or into your health or into how you see yourself, but you should at least know that the next time some girl stands up in front of you giving a TED Talk and asks who you are, you don't have to know the answer. Thank you.